into this? I read your podcast is in the top 2% of the self-help podcast. Now I have no idea where my podcast is, so just leave that one aside. what
Hey, it's
what
cool.
what brought you into the podcasting, space?
Ah, yes. Well, what brought me to the podcast space was for years, again, kind of like with the church, where I discovered that I actually had a voice that folks actually enjoyed hearing. Folks for years would tell me I have this radio voice, and
Mm-hmm.
was doing public speaking. I learned how to communicate publicly back in the church. I had to recite verses every week and was able to do well in college whenever there was a public speaking course I had to take, and even went to Toastmasters International to polish my craft and that skill in that area. And I took a side quest where I eventually published my first book, Going North: Tips and Techniques to Advance
Mm-hmm.
Yourself. But about a good, I'd say, 9 months after the book was published, sales weren't really happening. There was like no drips in the faucet at all for at least a good
Mm-hmm.
month or two. I'm like, oh, I should probably market this book. Oh, wait, I wanted to start a podcast. Let me go there. So that wonderful journey of writing that first book actually helped me to get more clarity on what I originally wanted to do, and that was to start a podcast because one of the major things about a podcast, it's a wonderful tool for those in business, and I recommend folks start a podcast if they're in business and if they have a product to sell. Because the thing is, it's like there's a nice realm and a nice area for hobby podcasters to be in. Like anybody can create a podcast, but the end of the day, that's the easy and hard part. Anybody can make a podcast and start one. It's really not only starting one, but keeping going with it. And I originally started it as a way to market my books, but after realizing, hey, let me not make this be all about me here. Let me interview fellow writers and have a platform for them to promote themselves and their work. Because the thing is, with a lot of writers, especially after the year 2020, we have a lot of what I like to call book boomers because folks who are still alive today after that year, they most likely published a book. There's at least 89,000 books published a month, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh
And
wow.
it's like so many folks are trying to figure out what the heck do I do? It's like, oh, if they're good, they're cool. I'll interview them on the show. And I made a promise in the show notes or this description of the show that every Thursday a new episode would go up.
Mm-hmm.
And every Thursday an episode would go up. Heck, even when December popped around, put up 2 episodes every week. Thinking, oh yeah, double portion December, that would be great. And did that consistently for 6 months. And that's one of the major things that set
Mm-hmm.
elite podcasts apart from everyone else is that they're consistently uploading content when they
Mm-hmm.
say that they will. And I got noticed in the year 2018 after those 6 months of starting in September of 2017
Mm-hmm.
by a guy named Steve Olsher, where he would release a giant list of the 668 top podcasts in the world, and he would list 10 in every category. And
Mm-hmm.
under self help, alongside Brendan Burchard, Gretchen Rubin, and Lewis Howes, I saw my pretty
Yes.
face on there. And I'm like, dude, like
Oh
this guy,
snap.
a
You
random
done
black guy
it.
from Baltimore. I'm on there.
You are on there in the top 10. Whoa. Cool, cool,
Yeah.
cool, cool. With some big names.
Yeah, way bigger
You,
than me.
yeah. Oh, well. Yeah. Now I understand why you said what you said. I'm not a little fish.
Exactly. It's like, hey,
Yes, yes, yes.
internet is leveled it for everybody almost.
That's true. That's true. I should keep going. I'll also get big as I keep going. Beautiful. So, what was I'm going to ask you two questions. The intentions for the how do you call it? Going North podcast. The Going North podcast. The name, because it was a book name. Did you have to name the show the same? But first and foremost, why Going North? Why didn't we
Oh.
why didn't we go south or east or west? Why north?
Well, when you look on the map and you're pointing north, it's all about going up. It's all about going up in your life, embracing your dreams, manifesting the life that you truly want to live, and really up leveling yourself, your life, and those around you. And that actually started off as a joke, funny enough, because one day I was running semi late for work and was clocking in, and a buddy was like, "Hey, Dom, how's it going?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know, I'm going freaking north." And another colleague just busted out laughing because most times when folks ask you how's it going, they don't think of a direction. They expect you to answer like you're saying hello or what's up. And it's
Yes,
like, well,
yes, yes,
I'm
yes,
going north. And
yes.
that eventually became the title of the book, which is a self-help inspirational book under 100
Mhm,
pages for the distracted folks out there, myself included. I mean, we're all fighting for each other's attention in this wonderful attention management age. And when I released the book, one of the semi curses of a creative mind is the fact that
mhm.
when we create something, we kind of put it out there. If we put it out there, and we try to move on to something else.
It's
But I had a
true.
conversation with a coaching buddy of mine when I mentioned I was starting a
Mhm,
podcast and I was going to call it something else. And she's like, "Hey, wait a second. You got this book going north. You're kind of the going north guru here. Like, don't want to leave this brand just out here lying alone like that." And
mhm.
she was right. Like, I
Yeah.
thought, you know what? Let me create something else. But hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And
Go-
when you have gold, like, see if you can
Mhm,
find more gold, and that's how I kept the name for the show. Because it's hey, it's a lifestyle. It started off as a joke. It's
mhm,
all about really helping others to go north in their life
mhm,
as well. It's a book, and now it's a show that's been
mhm.
going on for 6 years and counting now. So the name of the game is
Oh,
all about going north.
you answered my question already. 6 years going
Yes,
with the
ma'am,
podcast.
indeed.
Whoa, that is great. That is great. That is great. Yeah. I got a wee bit distracted. My son just came through. Maybe when we done, he will watch this podcast and learn a thing or two about motivation, inspiration, etc., etc. So let's get back to the meat of it. At present, where do we, find, your works, or which if individuals or companies that you kind of work with when it comes to motivation and inspiration, and then what you do focus on.
Nope, sure thing. So if I'm hearing the question right, you're just asking where can folks find me?
Yes, that's the first question. I have a bad habit of asking three or four questions in one. Not a bad
There you
habit,
go.
it's just a complicated mindset. My brains run that way.
There you go. That means you got a lot of ideas in your brain and your noggin.
True that, true, true. You're right. You're right. Hmm.
That's right, indeed. That means Nana loves using her noodle.
Now, somebody should have told me that this podcast is going to be full of laughter.
Man, you should have saw it coming.
I, I really, well, I kind of, but I kind of thought, okay, I'm going to be, formal. I am going to
Oh,
be
nah, forget
stick.
that. Nah, ain't no formal, nah. Folks are too uptight these days. Be loose.
Be loose. Okay, I hear you. I hear you, my dear. I hear you. Okay, so back to the question. Talk to me.
Yep, so the good news is it's all
Mhm,
on dombrightman.com. I tried to spread everything online, and that's the thing with branding. Try to make it as easy as possible for folks to find you. That's why everything is at Dom Brightman, and that's the thing about branding, because sometimes when folks are starting out, they don't get those lessons. But the thing is, you got to make it easy for folks to find you. And sometimes you
Mhm,
have to reach out to people. And when you keep
mhm.
things simple, that way they can find you a lot easier and keep things easy for you. Because, hey, that's how you found me. It's like, oh, wow, something's actually working here because you're all the way out in Toronto at the moment
Oh,
compared to me.
so I found you through podcasts, whatever. They send me all these people. It's like, oh, okay. So I go in, read. It's like, oh, okay. He's speaking my language. Okay, I'm going to send him a little message and see if he'll respond. And it's like, oh, say, hey, absolutely. I said, okay, we on, we on. And then I saw Maryland. It's like, oh, once upon a time, I used to play around in Maryland.
Oh,
Yeah, I had family in BC, but no more. I don't know even know. Yes. Now you do say that how do we call it? Empowering people allows you to empower yourself. I think I may have butchered it. I didn't quote you properly, but alongside that kind of idea. Break it down.
yeah. Hey, ain't nothing wrong with that because that's another alternative version of it. Because, hey, what's advancing? It's all about empowering yourself and other people, and that's what you do when you advance. It's like you're climbing a ladder, but to take it to the next level, it's about building a ladder as well. So that way you don't be up to the metaphorical mountain or the summit all by yourself. And the thing is, we're basically standing on the shoulders of giants here. Someone created this wonderful internet that we're on. Someone created this
Mhm,
wonderful platform that we're using to connect with one another, where it's not like in the 90s where it's like, oh God, this is like a dream. This is like the Jetsons here. It's like, how the heck are we communicating thousands of miles away from each other in different time zones? It's like we're really standing on the shoulders of giants here, and that's
mhm,
really what it's all about, is that sharing a kind word with someone, sharing a good book with someone, sharing some useful information for them, like tips on how to grow the show or to grow the YouTube account, or how to really make a small adjustment in life that'll actually yield a bigger change for them in
mhm,
their life. It's really all about advancing and empowering others through those things. Heck, even sometimes even referring business to those people. Heck, funny enough, I was at a communication conference years ago and I was connected with this photographer, and he also does videography as well. And I interviewed a podcast guest, and she was launching her new book, and she needed someone in the DMV area willing to come out and record and do some photography for her. And I knew about, I'd say, around a good 6 or 7 photographers, and I sent the list to her along with their websites. And the guy that I met that day ended up getting business from her, all because
mm,
I decided to keep his information, and he had the
mhm,
best presentation of his business and what he does, because one of the major things he likes to mention is that, hey, folks would be like, hey man, you just taking pictures, man. Like, I ain't paying you all this money just for taking pictures. But the thing is, it's really capturing an experience, it's creating an experience for people, it's cherishing memories, it's creating
mhm,
those memories for your moment of metaphorical time travel.
mhm,
Because the more pictures you have, especially sadly when I lost my father a few years ago and we were looking through some old photo albums for a
mhm,
slideshow, it was just seeing him decades younger before he got his sickness and lost all that weight. And just
mm,
seeing times when he was younger and I was a lot younger too, as a little small baby. It's like, oh wow, I actually looked like that back in the day, and just reminiscing of those different times. So
mhm,
it's not, oh, I'm taking pictures, as I'm actually providing an experience. It's like, and you invited me on the show and you think being surprised about the humor. It's like, hey, at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, I want to share some great content, but I want it
mhm,
to be a great experience. And humor is one of the
mhm,
major ways to ensure a great experience, because everyone needs a little touch of humor in their life. They need that metaphorical spoonful of sugar to help the
mhm.
medicine go down.
Oh, okay. I, I, I think my thing is, if you let me be, it will just be all jokes, and I
Yay.
was trying to kind of hone on it, and Finding somebody who is more than I am on the humor side is like, okay. There is seniority. There is seniority. Then then my brain starts going. It's like, okay, what questions do you have to ask him? What were you really thinking before you start pulling all over the place and talking about things that are not? Maybe it will be very funny. A fun, how do we call it? A fun-filled podcast. But hey, so now I'm going to throw it to you. Do you have any questions to ask me? Which I
Uh,
don't normally do. I do the asking, but now I'm asking you. Do you have any questions to ask me? The ball is in your court.
didn't know you like to switch positions. Well,
I
the thing
don't,
is,
but I realize I'm with a master humorist. If is that a word?
it is humorist is a word. I guess it's a title for some folks, especially those who like to perform and magicians too. But hey, fun
Mm.
question for you: what are you excited about over the next 6 to 12 months?
Oh.